Ladies and gentlemen, let's Red Gaming Telecom video. Let us discuss further the Xbox One and PlayStation 4's memory situation. This is spurred on by recent comments from the head of Havok's product management. His name is Andrew Bowell. I'm going to spell out his name for you guys. Bowell. And he believes, quite simply, that the amount of memory in the next generation consoles, which we'll go into in just a moment, is just not sufficient. So I'm going to read out his quote and then we'll go into my thoughts and opinions on this. Developers have long dreamt about more RAM. RAM has been so scarce over the last 20 years in console hardware that I feel many prayers have been answered this time around. However, it will absolutely take no time for artists to use all that available RAM, even 8 gigabytes. You can be sure of that. Concerning his own technology, he said, in terms of Havok, it has always been our goal to enable developers to do more with less. Even the large amounts of RAM available, the developers will still find ways to use even the last byte. To that end, it's always a requirement for middleware to have the smallest possible memory footprint. This is also becoming even more of a requirement as console developers look at possible ways to bring their title to mobile platforms. End quote. So in case you're not familiar with Havok, and I imagine many of you probably would be, even if it's inadvertent, it's a hardware physics, well, it's a software physics-based engine, and of course has been implemented in many different titles. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, if you consider the amount of memory that is available to the next generation systems, it's not 8 gigs. You've got to remember that there is an allocation of memory. For example, the Xbox One has an allocation of about 5 gigabytes of memory for games because of its tri-operating system. In case you're not familiar with that, I'm going to very briefly go into it. The basic premise is that you have one control OS and then 2 operating systems that are inside that. One is primarily, well, does just handle games, and the other one would be for the UI and so on. It has multiple benefits. It also means, of course, that you get significantly less RAM. As for the PlayStation 4, with flexible memory, well, the figure keeps changing, and there's not been an exact answer. But the figure apparently is between 5.5 and 6.5 gigabytes. I personally believe it's about 6, including flexible memory, slightly more. But regardless, it's just not that much. When you consider, and this is going into a slightly different direction for a moment, but if you start looking at the amount of RAM that present-day consoles have, it's pretty decent. But when you compare that to, say, a PC, you can quickly see how high-resolution textures quickly start to balloon game size, particularly when you then start to take into account other situations. For example, high-resolution frame buffers, increased quality of sound effects, better AI, more complicated game code, and so on and so forth and so forth. That is why, of course, we're going to be seeing situations where texture compression and other ways to compress file sizes are going to become increasingly important. And if you may remember, when we were discussing just recently about the Substance engine, now the Substance engine actually allows on-the-fly texture compression, DXT compressed, by the way, and there were recent figures showing just how fast on the CPU textures could be uncompressed. And it was showing about 12 Mbps on the Xbox One versus PS4's 14. So obviously slight advantage there to the PlayStation 4. And this compression of files is definitely going to become a big thing because compressing them in memory, even for disk space, is going to become increasingly crucial. Nevertheless, we're going to be seeing situations where developers and programmers are going to start running into these boundaries. There's no doubt about it. It's a fixed platform. There's only a certain finite amount of memory. I've always said that one of the things that I would have liked to have seen from Microsoft, if they did indeed go this route, which they obviously have in terms of the ESRAM and DDR3, I just don't really understand why they didn't put 16 gigabytes of memory into the system. It would have given them a clear memory advantage over the PlayStation 4. In terms of quantity, certainly not speed. But there you have it. Regardless, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, leave your thoughts below, and if you want to contact me directly on Facebook, you're more than welcome to do so. That would be facebook.com/redgamingtech, and you can address me directly, Paul/Crimson Rain. Entirely up to you, my good sir, or good lady. Anyway, bye for now.